Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of the AI Inside Podcast, the show where we take a look at the AI that is layered throughout so much of the world of technology, check in on the news, the biggest happenings in artificial intelligence. We're learning alongside you, and that's what I love about this show. This show is hosted by myself, Jason Howell, and my co-host and friend, Jeff Jarvis. Good to see you, Jeff.
Hey, good to see you. The
Hey,
mustache is
hey.
coming along.
It must be obvious at this point because anytime I do a podcast, it's one of the earliest kind of comments. It's like, oh hey, so I think Ron said last night, let's talk about the elephant in the room, Jason. I was like, that's not an elephant, that's a mustache.
So I watched Zoran Mandami on MSNBC the other night, and they did a compilation of clips from him. And at one point, he had like almost a Fu Manchu. And he came back and said, I just want to say first, I made a mistake about this mustache, and I never should have done it. It was a really good use of the moment. No, I'm not saying yours is a mistake. I'm not saying that.
Honestly, I'm not certain that it isn't a mistake, Jeff. I just continue like I've said
trying,
many
man.
times in the
Keep
past.
trying.
I have been clean shaven face Jason my entire life, and once this started, it was like, well, I'm already here. I might as well see what it looks like a week from now, and it's still here. But I sneeze a lot. Like, no joke, I sneeze all the time now.
You're
And
allergic to
I don't know
yourself.
that I could do that for the rest of my life. So this might not last because I don't like to sneeze that much. Anyways, we'll see what happens. Each and every week, you get AI news. You also get more facial hair on my face. You get to see where it's at. Your facial hair, on the other hand, is pretty constant.
Stays. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
My
the way it is.
my first day after my parents dropped me off at college, my first college was Claremont, I stopped shaving. And then my mother, who never wanted a beard, never wanted anything, she didn't want to see it. And I arrived home on Thanksgiving, and I was with a friend of mine from college, and she makes this big theatrical thing about disowning me and not getting near me.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
not hugging me. Yeah, it was my mother. And my hair was too long for them, and I was never long. This is growing up in the 60s. And my
Right.
mother and sister, at one point, I fell asleep on the couch, and they brought scissors up to my ear and snip, 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 and I just
Did they-
jumped. They didn't.
Oh, I was going to say, did they actually
didn't.
cut? No. They didn't trim. Okay.
So the only time I've shaved this beard since then was when Leo Laporte shaved it, allegedly, when we did the 24-hour show.
And you shaved it as like a challenge for the
Yes.
24-hour
Yes.
show? Okay. Okay.
And he did it. He shaved me, and he did a terrible job.
How many times has Leo Laporte shaven
Well,
someone else? You know,
Exactly.
that
I
would
got the
freak
better
me
end of
out
the deal.
to have
He
to do
shaved his head and nearly had to get
Yeah.
divorced because of it.
Oh, believe me, I remember that all too well. That was, that was an interesting scenario. All right, let's
All
talk
right,
about
now
some
on to
artificial
fake life.
intelligence.
Artificial life.
Get to the AI that's not nearly as entertaining as facial hair stories. Let's talk a little bit about Amazon to start things off. Amazon, I believe you put it in here as like the AI browser wars have begun. The legal
agent
wars,
wars.
anyways.
Yeah.
The agent wars. There we go. Amazon suing Perplexity AI for and what they're trying to do, it seems, is prevent the Comet browser, which belongs to Perplexity, it's their agentic AI browser, from making purchases on the user's behalf on Amazon sites, from being able to log in and access the Amazon account of users. Amazon says this violates the site's terms of service. Also, that it introduces privacy risks, and Amazon says Perplexity doesn't disclose when the agent is shopping on the behalf of the user, and that accounts to computer fraud. So this is kind of the perspective that Amazon is coming from here. Amazon apparently sent a cease and desist letter to Perplexity after noticing that Comet's agents were logging into Amazon accounts and, acting on their behalf. Perplexity responded by updating the browser to evade Amazon's blocks that were put in place, and so Amazon then sued. So that's kind of where we're at so far. I think it sounds like maybe you think this is kind of ridiculous. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a fact, but as always, it brings up larger issues. I mean, Perplexity is the company that neither asks for permission nor forgiveness. Mm-hmm. They just do what they want to do, and they do it in a fairly gutsy way, shall we say, a gonady way. And
Gonady. I like that.
And fine. And I think we're going to be in the agentic world. So if it's not Perplexity and their browser, it's going to be other applications are going to be doing this. And as Perplexity says in one of the stories in CNBC, you'd think Amazon would be happy about this.
Well,
That
yeah,
we're
exactly.
creating sales.
It's
Why
another
Amazon's-
avenue. It's another pathway to making a sale.
But
Don't want to block that
Amazon
off.
doesn't get the chance to show an agent advertising. Amazon, I think, feels that it loses some tie on every company thinks we own the relationship, which is just hubris to think that, but that's what they think.
And we control the process.
And control the process, and we control the data, and so on and so forth. So that's what pisses them off. The larger issue that fascinates me here is, and I put in a story we didn't put in the rundown because it's too boring, and I'm glad you didn't, but about how do we deal with agents and identity and verification and things like that, which is a whole issue.
It's important, yeah.
And that's on the one side. On the other side, what as you were talking, what brings it out for me in this story is terms of service. How much of a right does a company have to just say unilaterally, if you, and this is where we are with all software and all services, right? If you use my service, these are my rules, and you are agreeing by them. And if you go to court, you're gonna lose because I warned you. It's a really empty strategy for relationships with your market. And we see the same thing is happening with scrapers and AI. You can tell me that you don't want me to scrape you, but it's only a norm that says that I am going to honor robots.txt.
Right, adhere to that.
I don't need to. You told me to, but the hell with you. That's what you say. I say what I say. And, what you going to do about it, huh? What you going to do? And I think that's where we're going to end up now, but it's going to be a computer arguing with a computer. And what right does Amazon have to say you can't send an agent to buy here? Are they saying that to the agent? Are they saying that to me because it's my agent that wants to buy it? Are they saying that to the software maker, in this case Perplexity? And then what rights do I have in return to say, well, you offer everybody else the opportunity to buy. This is just the way I want to buy. I sent Jason to the store for me. And Jason bought for me, and you don't know that it was me, right?
That's exactly it. I had the same thought reading through this. It's like, what is agentic authority? How far does that go? The same as what you were just saying, that like if I hire someone to do my shopping for me, does Amazon do they even know that I did that? They don't, because it's not like that person has some sort of self-identifying, metadata that travels with them when they use my account. And B, like, does it matter? Like, I gave my assistant the ability to buy this product for me using my account. Amazon, I imagine, would be okay with that, given I actually gave that, legitimate access. And so what exactly is the difference between that person that works for me versus that agent that works in a browser?
Exactly.
To do my bidding.
Exactly. So it's who knows where this will go. There were cease and desist letters. There were legal threats. I don't think there's been any suit as of yet. So Perplexity being Perplexity, I'm guessing they're going to hang tough, and they're going to love the fact that they have agents who are actually making purchases. And by the way, I'm not sure how many purchases that is.
That's a good point. Like, I feel like, how often, how much are people actually using this browser to make those purchases? Or is it just getting them to the final, stage? I mean, I'll be completely honest. I've been using Comet for as long as I have so far. I haven't actually used it to pull the trigger on a purchase. I still have a hesitation around that. So I don't know firsthand whether it actually does do the final pull of the trigger. I know it can get you there to that final point, but do I then have to go in and go click purchase, or does it actually do that for me?
Well, and then who has to have your credit card information? Is it just executing on
what's stored
Amazon
in the Amazon cloud? That would be my guess.
It recognizes you, or do you have to give Perplexity that information so that it can then complete the purchase? And what are the security issues around that? And I mean, Amazon, I think, has a point here in that it can get defrauded by an agent coming in saying, well, I bought this for Jason Howell, but in fact, Jason Howell says, I didn't want it. And so then who's liable in that case? Does Amazon end up losing merchandise to fake transactions? Though there has to be a credit card in there somewhere. Whose credit card it is? I don't think that's a huge issue.
I'm guessing, like, I don't know that I've seen in Comet an ability to store. Well, I guess it's a Chromium browser, so it probably is in there, and I just haven't interacted with it. But I haven't seen a way to like store my credit card in there and be like, for purchases, this is what you need. No. You know, like in the case of Amazon, like I know that my Amazon account has, you know, whatever payment methods we've stored in it, and that makes it really easy to do one-click purchase. And maybe that's as deep as it gets as far as the agent is concerned, is like, you know, click to buy it now, whatever the card is that's lined up, you know, versus going in there and getting really particular and like, oh, I'm using this for a business purchase, or I'm using this for a personal purchase. I'd be really surprised if it's doing any of that. But I don't think it's Comet that's serving up that payment method. One could see that coming. One could definitely see that as part of the pipeline of saying, yes, Comet, because you're my agent, here are the cards and payment methods that you have access to going forward. And depending on how I interact with you, you determine which of these cards things go onto. But I don't think we're there yet.
No, I don't think we are either.
Yeah. Does Amazon have its own agentic browser in the works? Is Amazon protecting itself?
But even then their agent, but that's a good point.
Its own product?
Their agent is going to want to make purchases elsewhere.
Yeah, right. In order
Amazon's, you'd think that Amazon's agent wants to be able to make purchases in Walmart.
Yeah.
And in a sense, Amazon already is an agent for all of its marketplace sellers.
Yeah, that's
right. Now, those sellers have agreed to Amazon terms, and they've certainly, they've even used their warehouse in many cases. So that's very clear. As always, every week on these stories, they raise other issues.
Yes, they do.
That are going to be fascinating to watch.
Absolutely. Indeedio. OpenAI has agreed to a $38 billion, speaking of Amazon, $38 billion deal with Amazon Web Services. Boy, the gates have been lifted. Grants it access to AWS data centers, large clusters of NVIDIA chips inside of those data centers. All this effective immediately and part of a wider $1.4 trillion commitment to AI infrastructure. Of course, OpenAI wants to secure 30 gigawatts of resources in the coming years, which is a massive amount. Didn't waste any time, right? OpenAI had its recent shift to a for-profit corporation. In the midst of that, it kind of rejiggered its relationships and its ability to strike deals with other companies when it comes to things like cloud infrastructure. And boom, they're getting in it immediately.
Yeah, this went to the good side of Amazon stock. The $38 billion. I saw that Benedict Evans, who I always quote, said he's so used to the scale of these ridiculous AI deals now, he thought that there was a zero missing. $380 billion. But $38 billion is still impressive. And Amazon stock, which had taken up 10% hike a few days before, took another hike just because of this deal. And people said that it's meaningful for Amazon because Amazon was seen as a bit of a laggard in AI. And this says that no, that they're on the forefront of it. But then it's this constant situation with OpenAI making, I think it's something like $1.4 trillion of prospective deals going forward when he doesn't have the revenue, he doesn't have the value. I don't think that AI as a total is a bubble yet. I hope. I don't know. But OpenAI keeps looking like a bubble.
I mean, that's what a lot of people, there's a lot of bubble talk around all of this, right? Wall Street Journal has an article that you put in here, and the headline is, is OpenAI becoming too big to fail? kind of signaling its crossover from AI startup. If that hadn't happened already,
Yeah.
it's definitely happened from AI startup to this massive juggernaut that it is. The article points out its relationships with Microsoft, Nvidia, Oracle, now Amazon, and basically the fact that like its own success directly impacts largely the success of these other major players. And it's in a very pulling the strings position as far as that's concerned. If there is a bubble, boy, like the failure of a company like OpenAI could ricochet and have dramatic impact on
because of all these deals that supposedly it was going to do.
These deals,
right? This
that
is
are
getting
built
booked
on something.
Yeah, it's not booked as current revenue in a lot of these cases, but it is booked as potential business. It's pipeline for a lot of other companies. And, as somebody pointed out the other day in the onlines somewhere, in the internet bubble, it was just using VC money to buy ads to get audience that didn't really want to be there. Right?
Yeah.
It wasn't tangible. Now it's being used to build data centers. And if you go back to the earliest days of the internet, one argument was that the bubble was still productive because we overbuilt fiber, and that's what enabled the internet growth that then followed. So I suppose there could be a similar argument here about data centers, that if we overbuild data centers, well, the market will find ways to fill in the use. And in fact, now, as we keep on hearing, there's a shortage of chips. You can't get enough chips. You can't get enough compute to go. But still, that's a tangible asset. That doesn't just disappear when you stop advertising. Now you're stuck with this major piece of real estate and a lot of capital investment in it. I'm not enough of an economist to get this. I don't know where this goes.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, of course, OpenAI is looking to do an IPO.
Right. And people, multiple people on the inside basically saying that they're looking at up to $1 trillion of a valuation for the IPO. Yeah.
So not that you have a lot of extra money hanging around, but
I've got close to $1 trillion.
Don't
count me short here.
Would you buy OpenAI stock? I mean, conflict and all that aside, as an investor.
Yeah, conflict and all that aside. I don't know. I think I'm reasonably optimistic for OpenAI. I don't think that there's. Do not listen to me. By the way, I am.
Same here.
I am almost guaranteed to always be the person to pick the wrong team as far as this stuff is concerned, and our bank account can say as much. But yeah, like I don't know. I think the momentum is on their side. That's says something, like OpenAI to me right now feels like Google felt to me when I knew a heck of a lot less about technology, granted, but back in the days when Google was just kind of starting, it was like, oh, wow. Okay. All the momentum is in this one company that's doing things that like literally every move is getting major attention. I don't know. I would guess that it's not a horrible investment, but I'm not an investor. I don't invest in things like this.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, how do you feel about that? I'm curious.
I think the market momentum would make me say, yeah, give me a piece of that. But all the fears that I just talked about are still extant.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So, who knows?
It's such all that stuff is such a gamble. That's why I don't even play. The first time I ever went to Las Vegas as an adult, I played the slot machines and I paid for my trip. I played the slot machines and I played blackjack, not really knowing anything about blackjack. Total beginner's luck, and I paid for my trip, which was not, this is a long time ago. A whole trip to Vegas when I was this young was probably like $300. But
still,
nonetheless, I walked away from that trip going, oh man, I'm awesome. I'm doing that again. The next 2 times I ever went to Vegas, I lost a lot of money, and I decided I'm not a gambler. I'm not going to gamble anymore.
My father always had a rule. He loved going to Vegas. I think Vegas is just you haven't seen how tacky America can get until you go there.
Yeah, that's true.
My father would go there on conferences and conventions and that kind of stuff, and he would put $20 at the time. I'm sure now it'd be $100 with inflation. Put $20 in one pocket, and he would just try to make that last as long as he could.
Yep.
And he always said, so I got $20 worth of entertainment.
Yep. There you go.
And the stock market's a little bit different, but there is something to say. I got crap on this for when we were This Week in Google. I have Google stock because I bought it years and years and years ago, and I'm not selling it and paying the taxes on it. It's there, and I've been open about it. I guess I haven't been on this show about it, but I have been in the past. And it wasn't much money, and it turned into some decent money. Mm-hmm. And so I think if you can look at it that way, is to say, all right, if you believe in this thing, all right, what the heck? Throw in a little bit. Throw in a little bit you can afford. On that basis, yes, I would invest in OpenAI. Mm-hmm. On the basis of saying I'm going to move my whole 401k to it, no.
Right. I'm going to bet the farm on it.
No, especially not at my age, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd have a real hard time doing that too. I second guess all that stuff to death. And to my detriment sometimes. Anyways, all this to say, do not take our advice on anything when it comes to financial stuff. This discussion
you'd be better off with ChatGPT's advice than ours.
Almost guaranteed. I can at least say that about myself. I'm not going to speak for you, Jim.
Oh no,
that is definitely the case for myself. So, all right, we are going to pause and take a little break. Before we do, just a quick reminder that we have a Patreon that you can support this show. If you are a big fan of what we're doing and you like what you see and you hear each and every week, like Dan, Jesse, and Corky Garco, 3 of our amazing patrons who support us month after month, you can go to patreon.com/AI Inside Show and throw your support behind the show. Throw us a couple of bucks a month. It helps drive this show forward and, involves you in the community of AI Insight. There is a Discord. There are some exclusive videos that get posted from time to time through the Patreon. But really, it's just a support mechanism. If you like the show, you want to see it continue, this is your immediate and direct way to ensure that. Patreon.com/AI Inside Show. We thank our patrons for being so awesome. Going to take a quick break. On the other side of the break, we're going to talk about a story that I've heard a lot about. Maybe you haven't as much because it's about music generation products like Udio. It's a case, and we're going to dive right into it because there's some really interesting aspects of this coming up here in a second. All right, so I'd say about a year-ish and change ago, I did a couple of videos on my YouTube channel at Jason Howell focused on Udio, which Udio is a music generation AI tool. Gave you, it's basically like image generation, but for music. Gives you all these controls, all these parameters that you can dial in. And yes, you can put your word prompt in there to say what you're looking for, but then you've got all these other controls that allow you to kind of rein it in or let it go wild or do this and that. And I played around with it from a perspective of being a musician and wanting kind of like a creative partner in the studio to give me ideas that I can explore. Not necessarily to create top to bottom songs for me, but just to say, here's the song I'm working on. What would you do with this? And then it gives me ideas and I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. And then I do that. But over the last year, it's been Udio versus Suno. Essentially, those are the 2 key players in music generation space. Both of them very targeted with lawsuits because, as so much in the world of AI, it's very kind of uncertain how they trained their models to do what they do. And, Udio definitely came under the microscope, under the spotlight from Universal Music Group in a pretty major copyright case that is now settled. And the settlement here, if it hadn't settled, Udio would have just disappeared. Like they would have just been driven into the ground because I think it was becoming pretty obvious that they trained their music on copyrighted material, unlicensed, and that was going to be, potentially be deemed not okay, in the eyes of the court, potentially, I say. But definitely the music industry was coming full throttle on these companies to say that's not all right. Well, as we've talked about in the show in the past, the music industry, I think it's become clear, isn't anti-Gen AI. They're anti-Gen AI that they don't have control over. that they don't make money off of, that that doesn't give their artists the ability to opt in, opt out, slash, make money, that sort of stuff. Even though their artists would probably make a pittance compared to what the labels and everybody else involved in this stuff will. Anyways, this settlement basically means that Universal Music and Udio are going to create a joint subscription service that is fully licensed, that does adhere to certain rules and allows artists on the labels to opt in. So if they don't want to take part in this, they don't have to. And I think what sparked some major backlash on the side of the users of Udio is that hours before this deal was announced, Udio very quietly switched off the ability to download any music from the site. And so Udio was kind of built around this idea that like what you create is yours and you can do whatever you want with it. And then they switch off downloads, and then a few hours later they announced this deal, which is that Udio had to agree to this with Universal, and there's no more downloads on the site. The music belongs to Udio and Universal. Thanks for the fish. Everything that you've created is now feeding this thing, and users were they were pissed. They were not happy with that because they truly. I think that there's a lot of people that use these services. It's easy to look at this and be like, oh, that's so silly. Like you're just entering in words and creating music that you didn't actually create. The system did. But people, I think, over time felt a lot of ownership about this because they learned how to use the system and they learned how to work within the confines of the system and create things they felt very emotional about. And musicians were using this as a tool, as a music collaborative tool, similar to the way I was using it. Now suddenly can't be used that way anymore. And so it's just an interesting kind of example of what, I don't know, maybe it's a harbinger for what's to come in some of these other lawsuits. And also it's a point to drive home to say, and I've always felt this about anything in the cloud, any of these services, you think you own it, but you don't. Yeah. You never truly own this stuff.
Yeah.
You're loaning it. They're loaning it to you until they decide they own it fully,
Cue Cory Doctorow and shitification.
Totally.
So they are allowing a 48-hour period where you can download what songs you had on it, right?
After a lot of pushback, Udio finally said, okay, we'll give you 48 hours so you can download.
Whatever
that took place Monday to Wednesday. I think it's done now. So if you didn't get your stuff, it's
and so now Udio has a deal with, part of its deal with Universal settlement is that you can go and you can use Universal artist songs to make songs, but they're just not yours. Is that the deal?
They're not. I think that will be the case. I don't think that's in place yet.
So it stays on Udio.
But that's the plan. It stays in Udio. And I think I think part of this, if I had to guess, is that Universal wants to monetize around the desire for people to make their own versions of Kendrick Lamar song or whatever the artist is, given that artist is okay with it. But they don't want users to sell those songs or present them in legitimate music places like Spotify and stuff, to where they might actually make money off of the artist's likeness. That's my guess is why they're controlling it, or at least one aspect of why.
It raises all the issues we talk about constantly on the show around copyright and intellectual property and such. And well, a few interesting things. One is that music is again the first major target of this. It was true on the internet with Napster, and it's true now with AI. In this case, where for some reason music becomes the first battlefield. It's where the snowball turns into the avalanche. Right. Mm-hmm. Secondly, music is unique creativity. A news story is not. A nonfiction book, unless you quote it exactly, is not. You can't own facts, only the treatment of them. Right. But music is unique, and whether it's the creation of the song or the performance of the song, that's long been protected. Nonetheless, as long as it doesn't because we see all these copyright cases around music where, 4 notes, that was 4 notes that Michael Jackson did, that so-and-so didn't do, and right? And I'm sure you as a musician live in fear of having remembered some riff and it's in the back of your head and you don't know where you heard it. And oh my God.
I've certainly, had that experience that.
Right.
I don't fear it very much because I'm not a very popular musician. You know what I mean? I'm not too concerned about my music, getting me
Knock
sued
some wood.
out of
Knock some
existence.
wood.
Knock on
your
wood.
first big hit,
Yeah, I guess you never know.
But I would argue here, as with text, that training, as long as it's not replication, is fair use.
Mm-hmm.
And so this has not been tried in court. They settled out of court,
Right.
obviously. And so this issue still stands to be settled
Mm-hmm.
later.
Mm-hmm.
And what is training? What is fair use? What is transformative? Those issues still rise. And we saw one case of it where it did go through court on Anthropic and text, but now on music it still hasn't been adjudicated, and so we'll see. The other issue,
there, part of it was the procurement, right?
right.
How did Udio get access to this music? Did they? Yeah, I mean that's a big part of it. If it's digital and it's online, are they using a logged in
Right? Did they do
account?
that, or did they go buy
downloading via torrent?
CDs?
Are they, subverting DMCA protections on YouTube videos?
Right.
All those things can really.
But in this
impact.
case, all you'd have to do is play a song for the AI, the model.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to. I mean, yes, in fact, you would download the digital version of it, but you could literally play it.
Could, yeah,
Right?
that's
You could
true.
buy the CD and play it, and as long as it doesn't replicate it, but still has in the style of, gee, that reminds me of Queen, but it's not Queen. Is that okay? It's the same thing if I'm a Queen tribute band, and that's something
Yeah.
you would never want to see.
Actually, that might be my next Sora prompt: is
Yeah.
Jeff Jarvis in a Queen
That's a
tribute
Queen
band.
tribute band. And see the earlier discussion about terms of service. So I buy that
Yeah.
CD, but somewhere in there there's fine print that says, here's what you can't do with it.
Right.
Have I violated that just because I bought it? And did I really agree to it because I bought it?
Yeah.
Or what rights do
And
I
how-
have to buy it?
And how modern are the rules and the laws that rule around that? Because we're talking CDs here. Like, that's old technology.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to imagine that, other companies that do this, Suno being the other shining example, probably next as far as this is concerned. Yeah. I mean, I appreciated what Udio was when I played around with it for the use that I had. And so I haven't used it in a while just because I haven't had a whole lot of time to make music. But if I was making music on the regular, I probably would tap into it from time to time to do what I used it for then. And to that end, I'm kind of sad that that isn't really possible anymore, or at least now, possibly and almost certainly temporarily. Like, there's probably going to be some music creation tools that are created from that mindset and done, let's say, in a more legitimate manner that, that doesn't tick off the music companies, but will be as good. I don't know. It might not be, or it might be great, but
So
it was a cool tool.
What does Udio become? You can listen to stuff just there? I don't know.
I think so. I think it's like here is a streaming service that is just, well, it's actually, I mean, I know we're going to talk about Sora here in a couple of stories, but it's kind of like Sora because Sora,
just where I was just
is a video creation social media platform. You can take those things though and put them on other platforms. You can download the video in the case of Sora, and you can't do that with Udio. Yeah. Oh, hello. So we've got a fan tuning in. Danny Michelle says, hey, Jason and Jeff.
Hey.
Apparently 5 published tracks from Udio this past Monday. Okay. So you are a fan. You are a user. There you go. Probably won't be publishing those tracks much anymore because you won't be able to download any of the new stuff. But I guess if you downloaded your library, you could publish them all. And I think people who use like Spotify and some of these other music streaming services, there is a big pushback and resistance to AI generated music making its way onto those libraries. So there's probably a lot of people celebrating this as well. Like, great, we won't have your slop hitting our music feeds. So I'll be curious to see where that goes. Then we have Getty Images, and Getty Images has a loss to Stability AI. They are the makers of Stable Diffusion. At least in the UK, there was a copyright case happening there. Getty had accused Stability AI of using its copyrighted images to train the AI model, but had to drop key claims in the middle of the trial because of insufficient evidence. They could show that the Getty Images watermark could sometimes be replicated, but couldn't show that wholesale images were replicated, my understanding anyways, because, as we know, after all, these models aren't storing images. They're storing relational data about these images.
Tokens.
Mm-hmm. Tokens. And so the judge dismissed secondary copyright claims based on the fact that because Stable Diffusion's model does not store or produce full works, it doesn't create infringing copies.
So I think that's very important.
That's in the UK.
That's in the UK, and it's only part of the case. The other part, which they had to drop, I love this legal language. Two intellectual property lawyers said to Reuters that Tuesday's ruling rendered Tuesday's ruling a damp squib for law in AI because that part of it was eliminated. It really doesn't say a lot, but still,
no,
every case we see, including the Anthropic case, nudges toward
a little bit further
fair use. Yeah,
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's right. That's kind of what I thought yesterday. Is maybe this case doesn't set precedent necessarily,
and it's in the UK, as you said,
and it's in the UK, but there, more and more we're getting a little bit of the temperature around this, and it seems to, like you said, pushing closer and closer to fair use. And again, maybe the differentiator is how did you procure the source data, and that becomes a big deciding factor. But we're not getting cases that are making its way through and giving us wide-reaching precedent. So there's still a lot to learn here. But even the judge in this case admitted that the impact of this case is pretty limited in scope. Yep. There is a U.S. case also, Getty Images versus Stability AI. Remains to be seen how that's going to transpire if it goes down a similar direction. This UK case will not have any direct, impact on that, I would imagine. I'm not a lawyer. I don't even play one on TV.
No.
So yeah. Interesting stuff there. But we did mention Sora, and I almost left it out because I know I've talked about Sora a lot, but it keeps fresh in my mind for a couple of reasons. So I definitely have something on my mind about Sora that I want to talk about. Before we talk about it, just a few pieces of the news related to Sora. This is OpenAI's image generation app. Now it's kind of like a social network, essentially. Kind of interesting. They finally launched their version of the Android app. So Jeff, yes, you too can download Sora on your phone and, I don't know, capture a cameo of yourself, give it all of your identity, your facial features and your voice.
I don't think so.
Let people create videos about you.
I don't think so.
I didn't think you were going to.
Which is weird because I'm almost sure I'll do anything. I'll use everything.
Yeah.
This I found my line.
You found your line.
Don't mess with me.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. And so is that line there because you're concerned that someone's going to do something that you don't approve of?
Yeah. It's red meat for trolls.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it is. Yet, and this might be kind of like where I get to here is the thing that I'm really captivated by with Sora as an app experience is that there's kind of two things right now that I'm getting out of it that I'm not getting in other places. And there are two things that I feel the need for in my life right now. One is the platform is filled with kind of unfettered creativity. You go on that platform, you're not going there to every direction you look is someone came up with a really wild, stupid, crazy idea, and it becomes visualized and it gets put into motion and put into sound, and it's full of ridiculousness, and that ridiculousness is inherently creative. Now, a person didn't create it, but a person in some way, shape, or form was involved in feeding it a line or feeding it a prompt and understanding how to get it to get to that point. And so everywhere you look on the platform, every example is some sort of creativity, good, bad, doesn't matter. It's creativity. And the second thing that I'm getting out of it is lightheartedness, which I think goes to what you and I think your fear is shared by a lot of people. And I'm not trying to convince you to use it. I'm just saying what I'm getting out of it is this is a social network that really has no negativity on it. It's all lighthearted stuff. Every time I go there, it is just jokes and ridiculousnly, and yeah, it's a little weird, whatever. But like when I go through and check out what's on my Sora feed, I'm almost guaranteed to like chuckle to myself a couple of times and laugh.
You haven't seen anything that's let's say politically.
No.
Wow.
I haven't.
Wow.
I haven't. I'm not saying it's not on there. I'm not saying that someone hasn't bashed the guardrails enough to be able to produce it, but my feed has been pretty darn clean, and it's not just filled with people that I'm following. It's filled with people that I'm following and others that it's seeding to me. It's just all like enjoyable for me. And I find that a big difference from a lot of other social media out there.
I wonder how long it takes for Godwin's law to take effect. That is to say that any discussion ends up bringing in Nazis and an accusation thereof. And I'm a Howard Stern fan, and part of the joy of Howard Stern is that they bust each other's gonads, to recycle that from earlier, on the show. And it's good natured, and they're having fun with each other, and you've been in offices or locker rooms or wherever the same thing happened. And so it's okay, but it's okay because it's in a contained group. There's some control over it, right? So I could see that if Sora were on Facebook and only my friends could mock me with it, would I then allow my likeness to be used? Yeah, maybe, in fact, my ego would demand it. Like, nobody's taking the time to make fun of me.
Yeah, right? How come I'm not in any cameos?
I'll be sillier so you can do that, right? But I don't know. I'm still nervous about it. Having had an impersonator who wasn't funny.
Yes, no, totally.
Mean, and that's minor. I'm a white male, old, cis, suburban. And I'm often in favor of openness on the internet and discussion and all that. And it's easy for me to say because that's who I am. So I don't even know what happens if you're a woman, if you're LGBTQ, if you're from an underrepresented group. That's what I fear about this stuff. And it's nice that it's serendipitous and fun now, but I don't know how it stays that way.
That is a big question. That's certainly something that I think a lot of people, and actually we have Rob Collins, who's watching the live stream, says you do lose control of the one thing you were supposed to always have control over, which is yourself.
Right.
And there's definite truth to that. Like I do realize that what I said about it is kind of a short-sighted, a short-term view, because I don't actually know that OpenAI isn't going to suddenly go full grok in 2 months and take the reins off of it, and then suddenly I don't have control, or go full Udio and kind of close the gates and take everything that I've created and feed that into something else that I didn't approve of or whatever. Like the same caution goes when we were talking about Udio, is that you never truly own this stuff. It's very temporary. It's like my experience with it right now, it's giving me a certain thing. I don't know that I expect it to always give me that certain thing, that lightheartedness. But right now it is, and I'm appreciating it for that.
Well, that's good. So I guess it's in that spirit that Altman proposed to brands that they should put their mascots and characters up on
Yeah.
Sora to be reused. And I looked at this and others on the socials when I shared this and said, "Oh my, what are you smoking? What brand would put up?" So my response was that I await the Limu Emu snuff videos. If you don't watch, I don't know, do you watch enough commercial TV to know what I'm talking about, Jason?
No.
No. Okay. So this is the problem.
Are
This
you
is a
well,
generational
when you
thing.
said Libu Inu, I thought of
Libu
Shiba Inu,
This is
the
Limu
dog.
Emu. This is a Liberty Mutual Insurance has commercials with an emu, and they're never ending. They're constant, and I'm sick of them. So if I had the opportunity to slaughter the emu using Sora, I probably would, because it would feel good. It'd be gratifying to get rid of this thing. And God knows what people would do with the Pillsbury Doughboy. I shudder to think what could happen, right? I can't imagine that any company would want to put up its brand character in that way.
Yeah. Well, I have been playing around a lot with Android figurines, and you got to talk. You got to prompt creatively in order to get it to actually replicate the Android figurines. But yeah, you can, and it's ridiculous. I don't know. Like, that's the thing. Like, I can see where this kind of stuff could go bad. Having said that, I've used this enough to not see it yet. I haven't noticed it going bad yet. I only see, kind of curious and interesting and I don't like this video that I'm showing. If you're watching the video version, like, it's not like it took the viral, internet by storm, but it's just like a massive army of Android bots surrounding me through a Ring video doorbell camera. And then they attack the Ring video camera and it fizzles out. And I don't know, like, it reinforces the brand and it's inoffensive, but it's kind of quirky. It gets people engaged with the brand.
I'm feeling old. I'm feeling like an old fart, which is bothering me.
Yeah.
Suddenly turned conservative. Yeah.
And none of that is to say that I don't understand where you're coming from. I totally get it. As a brand, it would be a lot to hand over the keys and just say, "All right, world, have fun, do what you want with Ronald McDonald." And guaranteed Ronald McDonald's probably going to end up in certain scenarios that McDonald's would never have guessed or would never have wanted. Does McDonald's have control over that, from some sort of behind the scenes control center?
Yep.
It's kind of akin to having an ad that appears next to an article about a topic that you absolutely don't approve of, as a brand.
And yes,
that could be
Sam
kind
Altman
of toxic
himself,
to your brand.
Sam put himself up for this, so
yeah.
he's eating his own dog food, but yep.
Yes, indeed. Anyways, it's been an interesting kind of service to play around with, and I didn't quite expect to enjoy it as much as I have. Like, I open it because I know that I'm going to get something lighthearted out of it, and I appreciate that about it. We'll see how long that lasts. At the same time, social media is exhausting, and I think a lot of people have found an exhaustion point with it at this stage. And
do you? Here's just a question, and then we'll move on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, X is a cesspool. Facebook is Facebook. Instagram is Instagram. But no matter what you think of them, I get something out of them. Right? I learn news. I find out what's new with a friend. I get a laugh, but it's related to something in the context of someone I know. Mm-hmm. Because Sora is entirely made up. I'll ask this in an obnoxious way.
Sure.
Do you ever learn anything there? And by learn, I don't mean like a PhD. I mean just even a piece of information, the news, how people's doing. There's nothing informational there, right? Nothing.
Not that I've seen.
You can't,
because
it's made up.
Yeah, because exactly. And I mean, you could prompt around it. I could prompt around it and say, this character says this character says that. But I mean, my experience of using it in that way is I get things that are far less enjoyable than if I just give it
Yeah.
kind of like a general sense of what I'm looking for and just kind of let it go off the rails a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, no, I don't get anything informational from Sora. There is nothing there. I'm not learning anything from Sora. I'm just laughing at it like a dork.
Yeah.
When I open it.
It's
And
time.
wanting to create dorky stuff
right,
with it.
right.
And the creative side of me that just enjoys kind of creating things that didn't exist before sees it as a unique tool to do that.
And I love creativity. I love it for that. Well, all right, let me turn around. I lied. That was not the last question. So from the creator's viewpoint, is it self-expression? What's the definition of self-expression? It's expressing something I want to express to people. When they watch it, they understand something about the world or me or something, right? Is it gratifying? So how I hear you saying it's gratifying, even in a fun way, as a creator. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, I think to a certain degree it can be self-expression. Even though I only have so much control over it, right? Like I'm just kind of scanning through some of the.
I like the Android being even taller than Jason.
Yes, well, in that one I
looks up
ask
to
it,
the
do you
Android.
play basketball? So, which is a question I've gotten, and I'm sure you have too, so much throughout the
I
course
always told
of my
the
life.
coaches it's not what it looks like.
Right. Just because I have height doesn't mean I'm good at playing basketball. I mean, there is a bit of self-expression here because all of these, like this video that I'm showing right now.
With your Android.
Oh, totally.
Right?
I'm absolutely making fun of
idolizing
myself.
an Android, right? Yeah.
You know, this was me sitting on the couch with my daughter, and I said, "All right, give me a scenario. What do I do in this video?
Dad? Yeah.
What do you want to do to Dad?" And she's like, "You're at a pumpkin patch, and a stalk of corn eats you, and you fall into its stomach, and you end up in the game of Candyland." And I'm like, "Okay," and that's exactly what it did. And and I love it. And so, did she create this top to bottom with her bare hands? No, but she had a creative idea, and it turned into something that,
which is sufficient. Because if she came to you and said, "Dad, I just spent a whole month making this," you'd say, "Aren't there better things to do?"
Yeah,
right?
I'd actually, honestly, I'd be pretty impressed.
Yes,
I'd be like,
that's
"Wow,
true. That's true too.
You got
know
there,"
what I mean. Yeah.
But I mean, it is ridiculously, easy to do this. This was a single prompt, and it worked perfectly for that, and we were both very happy with it.
You both got a little laugh out of it. And
if you look at my feed, you'll see a lot of horror movie influenced stuff. That's an expression of like who I am. Like I've always loved horror movies. And so here's a way for me to like create silly sitcom intro videos about Freddy Krueger, at a retirement home in Arizona,
What is on your face?
What's that?
What's on your face?
This?
Yeah. That video.
No. So this is Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street series. So his face is horrifically disfigured.
No. The one next to it, the little like Band-Aid thing. You're looking at the mirror.
I woke up and I had a smartphone zit. And so I wonder, do you pop a smartphone zit? I don't know. Is that what you do? When you wake up in the morning and you've got a zit the shape of a smartphone? I don't know.
Okay, I can
so
see this
it is
being
a
used by
reflection.
therapists. Yeah.
Yeah.
To reveal
like
your
it's a
inner
different
self.
it's a different type of personal reflection on creativity and what we find funny and everything. But certainly I'm going to throw a prompt in there that's never existed before.
Now, once you put yourself up there, you decided whether or not others could use you, or once you're there, you're there.
I have created a cameo of myself that I have made public. I have controls over how public that is. You don't have to.
Okay, got it.
And then when I publish an idea to my feed and those settings are in line with that, then somebody can go in there and choose to remix or choose to include me or whatever. Okay. They can spawn off of that in any different direction.
I'll try it. Because now that it's on Android, I can.
Totally. It's on Android.
Watch in a week. I'm gonna be showing him 100 videos, and he's gonna
check
regret
this out.
This.
One thing I will say though is that like everybody who's on here thinks that their stuff is the best stuff, and so it can get a little samey over time where it's like, okay, like this is a unique concept, but it's AI weird and whatever. I don't identify with it because it's not my idea, but as a creator, a creative person. I enjoy the kind of unfettered ability to just take a random idea and turn it into something immediately.
Which I stand for. I mean, that's to me, the death of mass media is all about enabling people to be creative on their own.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is a one of many ways to do that, I suppose. Before we round out this section, let's talk real quick about the ad market, because I was just showing off Sora, and it's very easy to use these tools to create something that's sort of convincing, I suppose. Well, we've got two companies who are now integrating it into their ad campaigns. Google has an ad. Its first ad, my understanding, created entirely with its VO3 tool, along with other Google AI tools. It's basically a Thanksgiving-themed ad starring a plushie-like turkey. And the whole thing, for the most part, I think, created with AI, not human hands. They avoided the Uncanny Valley because they didn't actually put human faces in here. So it's not easy to look at it and be like, oh, that doesn't look right, because it's all
here comes the actors unions after them.
Yeah, totally. So Google has done this. Also Coke, which
last year,
which did
Coke
this
had
last
a commercial,
year,
which was Uncanny Valley and bothered people. This year they tried a lot harder, and the video's there if you go down.
Is it embedded in the page?
Yeah, it is there somewhere.
Oh,
yeah,
there it is.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, this time no humans, except for, I think, the hand of Santa, or maybe this is a different video than the one that I saw, but using pretty much entirely animals, animated animals, which are a lot easier to get away with. Yeah, safer. I guess last year the vehicles had wheels that weren't actually turning while they were driving, so that was another tell. So these companies are leaning more into generative AI tools.
Yeah, and the production cost of this is nothing compared to what it would be if they tried to animate it in any old way.
And production time.
Yes.
I think that with the Coca-Cola story, I think they said, often in years past, they're working on these things for an entire year in one way or another leading up. And in this case, the studio spent a month on it. But they still employed 120 people working on it in many different ways.
If you go to the very end, you're going to see AI Santa. If you can go back to
AI Santa face and all?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, sorry. Let me show this.
Don't forget the famous Coke ad with Santa. Really made Santa in our image of him. And so there is AI Santa with cheering animals.
AI Santa with a little bit of glossy quality. Yeah, kind of
but
looks
very,
like a
very
Norman
true
Rockwell.
to kind of the original poster of AI Santa. The original ad.
I mean, not getting much Uncanny Valley out of that.
One,
but
two,
maybe
3, 4, 5 figures. I think we're good. One nose, two eyes.
And some brand coherence in the logo, of course. Yeah. In the Google story specifically, I think someone in that story said that Google, or the story pointed out that Google does not point out that the ad is AI generated. Their belief is that most people don't care about the method of production, which is probably very true. Most people don't care about that. And that the tools will become standard, kind of like Photoshop. Yeah. Which I think that's the
I think that's true.
This is all
I think that's true.
I think that's absolutely true.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had two AI moments. There's a commercial for a mutual fund company or something like that, your retirement. And there's a young woman who's working and then talking to an advisor and then walking down a street and looking hopeful. And I asked my wife and daughter, I said, does that look like a real person? Does that look like AI? And they shrugged at me like, what are you talking about? But I'm starting now to look at every commercial wondering whether it was really acted or whether it was made up. And I think it's going to be interesting to see. I also
in that realm now where that is probably going to happen more and more. We're probably going to see more of that.
I had to make a bunch of appointments. Sometime in January, you'll see me with a patch on here because I'm getting cataracts done, age. And so I had to make a whole mess of appointments. And the group that I'm with has become huge in a factory and owned by a private equity and all that. So they're constantly trying to use AI stuff for appointments and things. So I got to an appointment person and it was a person because I could tell the way they responded to me was in context correct, but the voice was weird. And then I almost wanted to ask her whether it was that service that takes an accent and de-accents it.
Oh,
I didn't. But that would have been horribly insulting. Like, are you half a robot? I couldn't do that. Listen, this is just a professional curiosity. This isn't an attack or anything. But I'm dying to know whether how often am I encountering AI? The New York Times said, well, I hate this when journalists do these. I gave up AI for a week and this is how life is. Who cares?
Yeah.
Stop. Right.
Yeah.
So there was another story like this guy gave up AI and he has to pull out a paper map to figure out where to go. It's just stupid.
Oh, no.
Just plain stupid. But it is interesting to contemplate as you go through your day, where all am I encountering AI in ways that I don't know. So it's just a commercial, or it's a phone call, or it's an answer you get from a company. Was this AI or not?
Probably most of the people that listen and watch this podcast, we all think we're really good at identifying it, and we probably are better than a lot of other people at identifying it. But that's a really great question. Where has AI been and we didn't catch it? Because almost certainly that's probably happened.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and a lot of times they don't want to.
We probably aren't as good as we think we are.
It's bad for their brand, or they're going to get accused of stealing jobs from actors or whatever. But it's around us.
Interesting. Fascinating. Want to throw a quick thank you to Ozone Nightmare.
Thank you, Oz.
At the end of our second story, I think the OpenAI cloud computing deal with Amazon had this to say and threw us a super thanks. So thank you. Ozone Nightmare says, the concerning thing right now is how investment announcements feel like a greased table where numbers are just being swirled around without real regard to delivering anything tangibly beneficial.
Amen.
Yeah, amen. Totally agree. Thank you for that. Thank you for participating.
Though we will get to a story shortly, as a tease, on Anthropic. Maybe that's changing.
Yeah,
But
potentially
that's a
so. Potentially so. Real quick, I just want to say that I'm trying something with the AI Inside YouTube channel. So if you go to youtube.com/@AIInsideShow, or just do a search for AI Inside on YouTube, you'll find I've got a new section down here for hands-on videos. I did a hands-on with a service called Higgsfield, and they have this aspect, and basically it's like a Swiss Army knife for generative AI image and video creation. So it takes a bunch of different models and you can do all these different things. And they have this thing called Higgsfield Popcorn that basically takes a single image and turns it into a storyboard. And then you can take that storyboard and bring it into places like Sora and other places and animate from them, or create like an ad campaign, or you can do all this really interesting, weird stuff with it. So if that sounds appealing, go to and it sort of looks like me. Not entirely, but anyways, go to YouTube. We do have a YouTube channel. Just search for AI Inside the podcast or AI Inside Show, and we live stream our podcast when we do it, like we are this one as well. So go subscribe. Lots of different things happening on that channel, and we appreciate if you do that.
Let me add a question to that, folks.
Sure.
Because Jason and I have been talking about this. If you watch that, is that the kind of thing you would want to appear in your subscription to the podcast? Right,
like
in the stream, like if you subscribe to us and you watch us that way,
that's my guess. Yeah, right. Because
or should it just stay separately on the YouTube where you go to it? Is it okay if you got extra things through the week like that?
Oh, you mean like in the podcast feed?
In the podcast feed, right? That's what I'm curious about. Is that good to have some extra stuff, some little bonuses? You watch them, you don't watch them, whatever.
Things that are outside of just the news. Mm-hmm.
That's just
curious about that. I mean, this might be a little challenging because it's very visual.
Yeah.
And the podcast for
but like
the
we're going to do
majority
interviews
of people,
and that kind of stuff. But
for interviews and stuff, absolutely. For something like this, it's very visual. It would be really hard to put this on a podcast feed and have the audio podcast listeners follow along. But I am super curious to know. Yeah.
What else would you like us to feed you? Yes.
Yeah, we have a pretty clearly defined kind of thing that we do with the podcast, and just looking for ways to kind of broaden that out and offer more of what you might like. So yeah, let us know. contact@aiinside.show is a great email to share that with us. We appreciate you. All right, let's take a quick break, do a quick speed round on the other side, and get you out of here. That's coming up here in a second. Okay, a few quick bits of news before we round things out. Google removed its Gemma AI model from its AI Studio, which AI Studio is kind of a way where just basic everyday users and consumers can use some of its tools in collaboration with other things. Senator Blackburn had accused Gemma of generating, accused Google, who runs Gemma, however you want to say that, of generating defamatory claims about her and other conservatives. She says the generations included fabrications and bias, and accused the model of defamation. Google ended up removing Gemma from consumer use inside of its AI Studio tool as a response, and is basically going to keep it available to developers via the API access and not offered to consumer users.
Thank you so much, Senator. So here's the fascinating thing about Blackburn. She's becoming an AI troll. That is to say, a troll of AI. When I testified before the Senate subcommittee, the Commerce Committee in the Senate, she was there, and she made a big theatrical point of having asked ChatGPT to write a tribute poem to Donald Trump, and it wouldn't.
And
I
remember that story.
She asked it to do one for Joe Biden, and it did, and she proceeded to recite it, which was pretty embarrassing. But that's what they've got to be careful, because that's what these politicians and media will do. Is they're gonna find every way they can to trip them up and troll them. So Senator Troll.
Interesting. Yeah, and I mean, as I've even discovered with Sora, even when you have guardrails and when you have things that are off limits, depending on how you ask questions, depending on, you can get real creative and get around those things. Yeah. And, we've talked about it many times in the past. How long does it take to get there?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not spitting out these things every other second. It might spit it out once every 2 weeks because someone tried consistently day after day after day after day to try and trip it up that one time. You
also don't know whether Blackburn primed it by saying, that you are playing a very nasty reporter.
Totally. That's kind of my point. Yeah, that's part of my point is, you can get these things to do crazy things like that and to prove your point if you know how to work with them, I guess. But interesting. According to the information, Anthropic expects $70 billion in revenue, $17 billion in cash flow by 2028. It's driven by its increased enterprise adoption of all of its AI products. So it has a very inflated view. Maybe inflated is the wrong word, but it's very optimistic. Let's say. There we go. Partnerships with Microsoft, Salesforce, Deloitte, Cognizant, just to name a few, and it's forecasting some pretty significant profit margins.
And Anthropic is an interesting company because it's the king, as far as I can tell. I'm not a coder, but coders seem to still like it best for using that. And then last week, the Wall Street Journal had a story, an analysis saying that OpenAI's less flashy rival, Anthropic, might have a better business model, and it's focusing on corporate customers rather than the mass market. So it's a bit under the radar in terms of media. It's not seen in a very hot story. You're not going to see Ronald McDonald robbing a bank on it. But they're trying to build things that have value. And we see too little of that in the AI world. So my hat's off to Anthropic for trying to do that. And in the past, I used to praise Perplexity along that line, but they mainly do things for theatrical attention and effect. I think Anthropic is trying to really build something here, so it'll be interesting to keep watching them.
Interesting. I knew that this next one is for you, Jeff. arXiv, key site. We have a segment that we sometimes do, Jeff's arXiv Showdown, I think we called it for no great reason. arXiv is a site, and by the way, it's spelled ARXIV, but it's a key site for academic research. Jeff, yeah, it's kind of a great reference that Jeff definitely scans through pretty regularly. Banning computer science review articles and computer science position papers because they say they're battling a surge of low-effort AI-generated submissions that are hitting the site. Now, authors must provide documentation of successful peer review for these types of articles, and arXiv may expand to other fields as well if they continue to see that low effort content kind of flooding through.
There's a humanities version that's going through somewhat the same thing and is limiting themselves. In this case, it's a narrow ban on article reviews and position papers, because those, I think, were the easiest to just gin up. But it's a huge issue. I'm going to be on a panel next week, discussion in front of an audience of ghostwriters.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of interesting. Because was the ghost, in either case, there's a middle person writing the book for you. Is it a human or is it AI is the big question with the ghostwriters. But one of the questions being asked in the panelists beforehand, and I hate panel prep calls. God, do I hate them. Because you end up getting the discussion just as long as the panel discussion. But anyway, one of the questions they were asking was, do we have any estimate of how many books are being submitted to publishers now that are made by AI? How many are being published, they're being submitted for review that are just made by AI? We don't really have a good sense of the volume now. It's what we said a few minutes ago. You see a commercial, you don't know whether it's AI anymore. Yep.
Nope. How do you know?
So the same exact thing as hitting academic papers. And obviously there's a higher risk here because people might try to make decisions based on what they think is a credible academic paper. And it may not be.
Yeah, very interesting. How do you know? And how do you feel if somewhere down the line that your favorite book of the year, you realize after the fact was written by AI, you know? Not that you knew it going in, but you find out afterwards, you're like, oh man, I loved that book. And then you find out after that's going to really
or that song that you really liked was made up on Sumo? No, not Sumo.
Suno. Yeah, Suno. Yeah.
Sumo is the wrestling. Suno is the song. Or that picture you thought was just beautiful wasn't a photograph or wasn't a painting. It was made up by AI. Yeah.
Yeah.
And does that affect it? What is beauty?
Right. That's why I say like seeing it after the fact. Like if you enjoyed it and you didn't question it or you thought there's no way in heck this was generated by AI, and then you find out after the fact, after you've already enjoyed it, you've gotten your like human kind of thing from it. And then
that's why I asked about the value that you get from Sora, Suno, Sumo. God, the brands are getting confusing.
I know. They're all the same.
Because if it had value to you, fine.
Yeah.
That's sufficient. Did you feel fooled on Sora? You certainly don't. You know all of it is made up. You know all of it is artificial. The problem is, and if you read an explanation of something on Google search and you learn from it and it's true, that's a big if, then the value is there. It's okay. But the question is, where is the value in knowing something was done by a human being? What is the essence of human creativity is something we have to grapple with now. It's not just churning out something we call content.
Right. Totally true. And finally, Google wants to launch solar-powered AI data centers into space. This is an article from Reed Albergotti from Semaphore about Project Suncatcher, which addresses energy demands, also the carbon footprint of all those data centers, here on planet Earth.
One way to cool them pretty easily, eh?
Yeah. Well, cool them, and yet, I guess they're not close enough to the sun to get any heat. You're right. They would be, they'd be cool. But they are getting the solar energy because they're orbiting the sun for constant solar power. And then, you're right. I hadn't thought about that, cooling from space, along with wireless communication. There's a 2027 test planned with the hope for something that is economically viable by 2035.
They also have to figure out radiation.
How
will that affect these chips? They're incredibly delicate. We're talking such tiny distances on them. What can be affected? But it'll be interesting to see.
We talk a lot about Google's moonshots. This is actually its sunshot. All right, we reached the end of this episode, Jeff. Always a good time. Thank you so much for being with me each and every week. And everybody should go to jeffjarvis.com to see the excellent artwork on the cover of his upcoming book, Hot Type.
Done by a human being.
Machine.
I know him.
Yes.
Not me,
that
but
gave birth
somebody
to
who's good.
mass media. Awesome. Hot Type is there. Gutenberg parenthesis magazine, The Web We Weave, everything you need to know about Jeff's work can be found at jeffjarvis.com. Thank you, Jeff. This was a blast.
Thank you, my friend.
It was a great episode today. AIinside.show for all the information that you need about this show. You can find it there. And then, yes, of course, patreon.com/AIinside show if you want to elevate your involvement with the show, show your appreciation, ensure the show continues. You can go to patreon.com/AIinside show, and you can support us at any level. We would appreciate it. But if you're an executive producer, you get special attention. Dr. Do, Jeffrey Maricini, Radio Asheville 103.7, Dante St. James, Bono De Rick, Jason Neifert, Jason Brady, Anthony Downs, and Mark Starcher. If you run into any of them on the street, you can say thank you, because they are very critical to this show, as are all of our patrons, but they give just a little something extra, so we appreciate that. Thank you, everybody. Good times, and had a lot of fun today, and we will see you next time on the next episode of AI Inside. Bye everybody.